Accelerate your success by impacting your community. Tips to networking and success from Orange County business leaders.
Welcome to the OC Impact Project podcast. My name is Rob Sousa, and today we're going to be talking about suicide prevention. Why? Because it's the 10th leading cause of death in America. 47,000 people lose their lives to suicide each year, and 1.3 million will actually attempt suicide each year. And the good news is that when surveyed, 93% of Americans believe that suicide is actually preventable, which is why we've invited on the founder and also chairman of the Orange County chapter of the National Foundation for Suicide Prevention and an Orange County board member, Cindy Bowman, to share their story about what inspired them to get involved in suicide prevention and why they donate and commit so much of their time to this very unique and significant cause. So let's get started and invite on our guests today. Welcome, Nancy and Cindy, to the podcast today. And Cindy, I'd like to start with you and allow you to share your story about what inspired you to get involved in the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention.
Thank you so much, Rob. The reason I got involved was about 20 years ago. My sons, I have twin boys, and they each lost a friend to suicide on the very same weekend. They did not travel in the same crowds or anything. So it wasn't like it was two kids at the same time decided, oh, we're going to do this. It was totally separate. And the impact that it left with me and my sons has been incredible. And I have to say, I attended one of the funerals, and it was just the crowds were outside the church, and there was no standing room, there was nothing. And I actually had taught one of these kids first grade CCD back in the day. And so I would like to introduce you to Nancy. She was the mother of one of those sons.
And I know this is a difficult story. If you haven't been impacted by suicide personally, I know it's hard to understand, and that's why we're sharing stories today. But it is very, very common. And just before I bring Nancy in, I just want to let people know that if you know of someone or you are personally struggling with thoughts of suicide, there is a 1-800 number, 1-800-273-8255, or TALK, 1-800-273-TALK, that you can call and reach out to someone that can talk you through the process. But Nancy, I want to bring you in because Cindy mentioned your story and the loss of your son. And if you could share that story and what inspired you to actually start the Orange County chapter.
Thank you, Rob. My son was one of the boys. His name was Jeff, and he died by suicide on November 11th, 2000. And I'll tell you, it's a shock when it happens. And it was 10 years after his death that I was introduced to the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention. And actually, I was going down to San Diego, and I was volunteering in a community walk down there to raise for a fundraiser for AFSP. And I found out that there were a group of people here in Orange County trying to form a chapter. So I met with them right away. And then also at that time, I learned about the warning signs and risk factors surrounding suicide. And my testimony is that it's true. I did not know those warning signs. I did not know those risk factors. And believe me, it's not a day goes by that I wonder how my life would have been different if I would have known about that. And so that's why I just said, I got to do something about this. And so the chapter with the other individuals was formed in 2015. And since then, we've just been working really hard in Orange County to get the word out because, like you said earlier, suicide is preventable. And, my passion is that I want to save other mothers, fathers, families, friends from feeling the same pain that I did.
Yeah, and I don't think people realize when they're in their own pain that the aftermath is so much greater and far reaching than they can even comprehend it when they're in their own pain. So prevention is so important because as we live in a family and in a community, and why we're sharing today to business leaders in Orange County is so that we can step in when someone is in that tunnel vision of pain in that moment, which is temporary. I know you've shared that with me, Nancy, but can you help maybe share some of the warning signs so that we're more aware of the people around us?
Well, yeah. So you have two things, actually. You have the risk factors and the warning signs. So the risk factors are those things that might cause, a depression or anxiety. And it could be things like job losses, the bullying, the, divorces, legal problems, and things like that. And even, and this COVID itself doesn't cause suicide, but it has caused a tremendous amount of stress in our community. And then you start seeing the warning signs, and those are the things. Those are changes in behaviors. Those are changes in moods. So you can have somebody who starts isolating themselves. So it could be a coworker that's always joining the group for lunchtime, and then he or she is not joining the group anymore. They isolate themselves, or they stop participating in activities that they enjoy the most, okay? Or sometimes they just start drinking more, or they start using drugs. Sometimes they start giving away those possessions, and that can look as reckless spending, just giving away everything. So, and it was so sad the other day, I just heard that one of the other signs of somebody who is considering suicide, actually, they start giving away their beloved pets.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, and that's so sad to me. But yeah, that's another possession that they start giving away.
And Cindy, if you don't mind me asking you a personal question, my wife is a teacher, you were a teacher, and until I met the both of you, I didn't truly understand all of the warning signs. But how important is it for teachers to equip themselves, because they see these kids hours a day, and most of us, I've had it experienced in my own life with friends who have committed suicide, and I didn't see it. How important is this for teachers to equip themselves?
I think it's extremely important for every teacher to know the warning signs. And we provide a program called Talk Saves Lives. And I would definitely recommend that program at Talk Saves Lives presentation to every teacher, to every school district in our communities, because the teachers need to know the warning signs, and they need to know what their children are going through that they are teaching. And they need to be able to know the warning signs, any changes in behavior or anything, because it's extremely important.
Yes,
And,
go ahead.
and Robert, we also have another program. It's called More Than Sad, and it's got different modules to it. Part of it, some of it addresses staff and faculty. The other one, portion of it addresses to the parents. And then there's a portion of it that actually addresses to the kids. So that's a program also, More Than Sad, that we want to get into the schools.
Yeah, and we'd love to be able to help you create some awareness. And so we will make sure we send this podcast to all of the Orange County teachers and administrators that we know, and try and help get that word out. We'll also put the links down below so that you can click on each program that's being introduced today, Talk Saves Lives. And repeat again, Nancy, that the other program?
It's called More Than Sad. More
Than Sad. And so these are fantastic resources for the community to get involved. Nancy, from an employer because most of our leaders are either employers or executives, how would businesses that want to empower their leaders within their organizations, what program would you recommend to them in order to create greater awareness for the company?
It would be Talk Saves Lives also.
Okay.
Talk Saves Lives is very much a community-based presentation that can be given to anybody 18 or older. And actually we have what they call a workplace module, and that addresses a little bit more about the workplace environment of Talk Saves Lives. So we have the regular Talk Saves Lives, or what we call the standard, and we have a senior version. We have a firearms for firearms owners. We have one for the LGBTQ plus community, and we also have one for workplace. So we have several, these different modules, I'll call them modules, that address the particular circumstances surrounding those different communities.
Right. And my personal story involves losing some of my fellow veterans. What programs would you recommend to be able to help? Often they already are isolated because they've been out of community while on active duty and then come home and they don't have that typical support structure, especially if they're stationed away from their hometown. Are there programs that we can recommend to military families, friends, coworkers?
Well, we do have we have the, like I say, the firearms module of Talk Saves Lives, and the only reason I suggest that is because I think and this is my opinion, this is my feeling, that, or my sense anyways, that the military persons, ex-military, retired or current, are more apt to have firearms in their homes, okay, and own firearms. And we would really like for them to be aware of their own mental health or the mental health of somebody else in the household. And so what exactly do you do to keep the firearms in a secure manner?
Right.
And what it is that they can do. So we kind of call it connecting the dots. You have the mental health, and then you're owning the firearm. So what does that look like, and what effect can that have?
Yeah, I had it was my best friend's son-in-law. Well, in both cases, for people I know, it was suicide by firearm.
Mm-hmm.
But he used to, he was on disability, he couldn't work, and so the adrenaline rush of being in the military and then going back into the real world of day-to-day work and things was really difficult for him. And he used to go to the worst part of town and put his 9mm Glock on the dashboard, hoping that somebody would rob or steal a store so that he could fight crime and have that adrenaline rush again that he was addicted to in the military. And he didn't know how to deal with that. And of course, I feel very frustrated that I was aware a lot of this going on and his drinking, and we didn't know how to help. And so if somebody does see signs, how do you intervene, especially with somebody involving a weapon or a firearm in their home?
Well, the first thing you do is you can ask them, what are they thinking about? And actually, are they thinking about taking their own life? And if you're at a loss for words, what you can do is you can pull up their phone right in front of them and say, hey, let's call this number together, the lifeline, the prevention lifeline that you talked about earlier. Say, let's talk to this person on the phone. And then chances are they'll give you resources to within the community, and they'll also start talking about a safety plan. So between the two, and you encourage them to seek help, to find a mental health professional. Sometimes you might have to help them find a mental health professional. Ask them. I've sat down with a woman myself, and actually we got on the phone together. She called her insurance representative, and it was it probably took about 15-20 minutes. Thank goodness the person on the other end of the line asked an extensive amount of questions to get the level of stress that this girl was in, and was able to give her a list of medical professionals that she can call in her area right away. So that's another, you can help them call resources. And, quite frankly, if they are really in distress, you can always take them to an emergency room. And
Okay.
that's if they're actually thinking of it at that moment.
Right. Yeah. And that's so great to know. I think, Cindy, I'd like to go to you and just ask really quickly, your kids were deeply impacted along with yourself as well. How do we empower our kids? How do we empower students? Because they seem to be most connected to the younger generation and are going to see the signs before anyone else.
So I think, my children now being 40 years old, twins, that they recognize a lot of this as they talk with their fellow friends, and they never forget Jeff. They never forget Kevin, the 2 lives that were lost that weekend. And I think what we need to do is we need to empower our children to, even as adults, know what are those signs of suicide. So, just even doing the Talk Saves Lives that we suggested, or something to that effect. We need to empower them to say, don't be afraid. Because I actually did one time ask a family member, and I was ridiculed for it. And I'm not gonna, I'm not ashamed of it, because other people have told me, if you did not do that, then what would happen if they were suicidal, right?
And
So
their life.
yeah, and supposedly it was like, oh, he just always talks like that. Well, you just never know. You really don't know. And then there was somebody else I approached one day, and I said, are you thinking about suicide? And she said, well, I checked myself in last week, actually. So, you just never know. You really don't know.
And
So,
we also want to encourage our kids, Cindy, don't you think, to open up?
yes.
Encourage our kids to take care of their mental health along the side as their physical health. Okay.
Right.
They get sick, we take them to a doctor, a medical doctor. Well, if they aren't feeling, if they're just having these really stressful anxiety moments, encourage them to open up, talk to somebody. And actually, I have a good story for you.
Good.
There was a lady and her daughter, and unfortunately, they had both been exposed to a suicide a couple of years previous. But the little girl came home, and she was 13 at the time. This happened like 2 years ago. 13. She says, "Mommy, my friend is talking funny." And so this mom called me, and she says, "I have no idea what to do. My daughter doesn't want to go talk to the mother, because then she'll get mad at me. She's my friend, will get mad." And then this mom was saying, "Well, I can't go to this other mom, because this other mom, she's just going to get mad at me. Like, how dare you say that?" So we decided, and what she did do is that she called the teacher the first thing the next morning. And thankfully, the teacher answered or listened and called the mom of the little girl that was talking funny. And mom listened, and they got this little girl help. And I'm happy to say that it was 2 months after that I talked to the story was related to me, that the little girl that was talking funny put a posting on Facebook and said, "I'm alive because somebody cared." And that was 13 years old. So it does matter to reach out to whomever you're concerned about. And sometimes maybe the suicide, maybe their anxiety or depression isn't that serious to get to the point of suicide, but you make them feel just comforted. You make them feel supported just by knowing that you took the time to listen and to care.
Especially in this day and age, kids often, especially with the digital world and COVID and everything else, I know often my kids have expressed this, there are oftentimes you feel invisible. Like you're suffering greater than everybody else. Nobody else will understand. And because nobody's there, because they're all behind your phone, they can't see how much pain you're really in.
Right.
I think you and I talked about this too before, Rob, and that was we've done a lot of tabling events at the high schools in the past, pre-COVID. And a lot of them, the children would come up to you, the students, and they would say, "Oh, this isn't for me, this is for my friend." You know, it could be the LGBT information that we have at the table, at the booth, or, you know, suicide prevention in teens, anything. But it would always be, "Oh, this isn't for me, it's for my friend." And you know who that's for.
Yes.
And so we need to be aware as parents, as far as counselors go, that these children are hurting one way or another, and they need to be heard. And we need to make their voices heard.
And that's kind of a lead into my next question, which was kind of wrapping all of this up. If somebody wants to volunteer, because you just mentioned the tables, what are some ways that people can get involved, donate, or volunteer with the organization?
Well, we just wrapped up our Hike for Hope, which was from May 1st to May 31st, and that was for Mental Health Month. And we are getting ready to gear up for Hike for Hope, or another Hike for Hope, I'm sorry, our walk. And our walk will be October 16th. And we're not sure exactly if it's going to be fully virtual or partially virtual, partially in person. But these are the ways that you can get involved. We have a volunteer meeting the third Monday of every month, and we invite everybody to attend, whoever wants to, and just come check it out. See what you want to, you know, get involved in. There's a lot of different ways to get involved. We have advocacy, the walk coming up. We have Nancy, what is that? The healing conversations, right? Beautiful healing conversations, people that have lost others, that we can get them involved, people that want to reach out to other people, right? So.
And Nancy, anything you want to add to that as far as opportunities for people to get involved and volunteer?
Oh, as a matter of fact, I give training sessions for Talk Saves Lives all the time, so that I have people going out into the community and giving this presentation. And so I train people all the time so that we can really, really spread the word on this. Like Cindy says, we're gearing up for the Out of the Darkness walk in October, on October 16th. And because all these programs that we provide, we don't charge anything. So it's because of our fundraising that we're able to do this. And then, so it's really important that we do fundraise for that reason. And then Cindy, I think she already mentioned the advocacy, and that's as simple as you register, you get an email whenever there's bills being presented to legislators or being voted on by legislators. And it's literally a click of a button, because the email is already sent, and because of your zip code, you're already matched up to the legislator in your district. And we've come a long way in getting some very, very important bills and policies passed because of advocacy.
So where do they go to sign up for that?
AFSP.org, and I'm going to say /
Orange County, no.
advocacy. But you know what?
Yeah.
I'm going to send you the link so you'll have that with you. I always say advocacy, but I might be wrong on that.
That's okay. We'll include it down below with all of the
Thank
resources and
you.
links. And I think there
Thank you.
was one other program. I don't know if we mentioned it or not, but because we are talking to business leaders, but the Give Back Partners. Can you tell us a little bit about Give Back Partners?
I love it. I love it. That's my program. So currently we have 4 give back partners, and it's really awesome. Somebody was once told, our first give back partner, that she needed to align herself with a nonprofit. And thank God she decided to align herself with us. So that was Sweet Saffron. And she creates confections made out of dates. And so she has for the Hike for Hope, she gave 4 weeks or 8 weeks worth of chocolates for leading up. We did a raffle each week. And so that was awesome. And so we have Sweet Saffron, we have the Good Influencer Her, which is Rhonda Wolford, and she's a give back partner. We have Shell Pavlis, which is a Berkshire Hathaway real estate agent, and she's a give back partner. And then we also have the Soul Advantage, and the Soul Advantage donated 3 items for our ending of the Hike for Hope. So 3 different items. She does different crystals, jewelry, all kinds of things like that. And these are wonderful companies that decide that, yes, I want to give back. So they will give back a percentage, or they will give back a dollar amount per month. They will commit to it, though. And that's the key, is that they commit to this. So I really hope that some of your listeners, Rob, will want to do the same thing and become give back partners to the American Foundation for Suicide Prevention.
Yes, absolutely. And we will definitely promote that. And I think there are multiple ways to give back. Like you said, you gave some great examples. And it doesn't have to be one particular give back. I think companies think that they have to represent one nonprofit or another.
Right.
Companies even getting involved on a small level and we get more companies, it creates more awareness along with funding the programs that you guys offer that are all free. So we're super excited about having you guys here today. And we'll be sharing this on all our social platforms, hoping that people will forward that and share it with others so that we can help gain more exposure for your organization and the value that it brings to the community. Because even if today's podcast creates enough awareness to save one life, then the time we spent today will be well worth it. I'm so grateful for the work that you guys are doing. And we at the AFI Group and the OC Impact Project are going to add you to our sponsor list, at which we're going to find a way on how to figure out how we can get involved and give back as well. So thank you. And I'll give you guys a last moment if there's something that you want to share before we wrap up.
I just want to thank you so much, Rob, for the connection, for entertaining us today and giving us the platform that we so much need. And thank you for the OC Impact Project.
Of course.
And I want to thank you also, Rob, for giving us the chance to tell your audience about us and what it is that we're doing and the importance of suicide prevention. And the other thing that I would like to emphasize is that we all need to take care of ourselves. We all need to take care of our mental health as long as our physical health. So, we're not out of the woods yet with this COVID stuff. We're all slowly getting back in, but everybody, I so encourage you to take care of yourself and to take care of your mental health also.
Thank you, Nancy.
Absolutely. Thank you both for joining us today. And I'm encouraged to get the word out and we'll do it together. So thank you very much. And we look forward to the next time we're going to see you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rob.
This podcast is sponsored by the AFI Group, who's developed a financial literacy program to help families reduce debt, save more, and reduce taxes to increase the average family's lifetime income by more than $1 million. The AFI Group is currently donating this program to organizations that want to help their employees improve their financial wellness. If you'd like to learn more, click on the link below to schedule a 15-minute phone call, or just simply text 949-377-0028.